Kubernetes storage, it can feel incredibly complex, right? So today we're going to break it all down with a playbook from a place you might not expect, the world of pro basketball. All right, let's jump right in.
It sounds a little strange, doesn't it? But trust me, this is the absolute key to unlocking the whole thing. By the end of this explainer, you'll see how managing gear for a championship team is the perfect analogy for managing data in the cloud. Just stick with me on this one.
Okay, so first things first, we got to understand the problem Kubernetes was trying to solve. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of our equipment manager. Back before they had a smart system. It was, well, a total preseason nightmare. I mean, just picture the chaos. You're having to pre-order hundreds of pairs of shoes, jerseys, all of it based on what? Pure guesswork. So what happens when, a new player gets traded to the team or a rookie needs a totally different size? You're just stuck. You've got waste, you've got delays, and that right there is exactly what old school static storage provisioning was like. And yeah, this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got the old way, static provisioning. We're talking manual, inflexible, and just so much waste. But then you compare that to the new way on the right, dynamic provisioning, and wow. It's automated, it's agile, it's efficient. An absolute game changer.
Okay, so how do we get from that nightmare scenario to a modern, super efficient system? Well, the solution was to build a smarter equipment room, one that basically automates the whole shebang.
All right, the first piece of this puzzle is something called the storage class. Think of these as your different equipment suppliers. You've got your premium supplier, right, for the superstars who need the fastest, best gear. That's going to be your high-performance solid-state drive, your SSD. Then you've got your standard supplier for all the everyday needs, kind of like a regular hard disk drive. And of course, you have the archive warehouse for, say, old jerseys. That's your cheap but slow storage.
Okay, so that's the what. But the how is the really crucial part. How does a player actually get their gear from these suppliers? They use what's called a persistent volume claim, or a PVC for short. And you can just think of this as a super simple equipment request form. The player, or in our world, the application, it just says what it needs, like, hey, I need size 13 shoes. It doesn't have to know which supplier to call or how to get them. The system just handles the rest. It's brilliant.
All right, so we've got the basic concepts down. Now, let's actually head out to the court and see how this whole playbook works in a real game.
This is great because it really maps our analogy directly to real-world tech. So your premium Nike supplier, that fast performance tier, in the real world, that could be something like a SSD on Google Cloud. We're talking super fast persistent disks. Your reliable team supplier for standard storage, that might be a GP3 volume on AWS, which is an awesome general purpose choice. And that old Jersey warehouse for your archives, that's kind of like Azure's standard LRS, perfect for cheap long-term storage.
Okay, so now imagine your star player walks in. This is your mission-critical database, right? They just submit their request form, that PVC, and they ask for the fast-performance supplier and, let's say, 100 gigabytes of space. See? They don't need to know any of the nitty-gritty details. They just know they need the best.
And this is where the magic happens. Behind the scenes, there's this four-step play that just runs automatically. First, the player submits the request. Then, the Kubernetes controller, which is kind of like the brains of a whole operation, it checks to see which supplier can handle that request. 3, it automatically places the order. And finally, step 4, the equipment, the storage, gets delivered and assigned to the player. And the best part, all of this happens in minutes, with absolutely zero manual work.
Okay, fundamentals are down. Now let's get into some real pro-level plays. This is where this system gets, really powerful.
I love this question because it's such a simple way to think about a really common problem. Your application's needs are going to change, right? Your database is going to grow. In the old days, this was a massive headache. But with our smart system, it's actually pretty easy.
This is all thanks to a feature called volume expansion. You just have to set one single, simple line in your storage class, allow volume expansion true. That's it. And you've given yourself the power to grow. So that rookie's database, it can go from 50 gigs to 100 gigs instantly, on the fly. And, this is the huge part, with no downtime. I mean, in today's always-on world, downtime means you're losing customers, you're losing revenue, so this is a huge deal. It's literally like getting a brand new, bigger jersey delivered mid-game without ever missing a single play.
All right, let's bring it all home now. We've walked through the problem, we've seen the solution, we've even looked at some pro-level plays. Now, let's check the final score.
I mean, just look at this. The difference in the budget here is absolutely staggering. With the old static way, Maybe you're spending $100,000 just guessing what you're going to need. But with the new dynamic way, you're only paying for what you actually use. And in this example, that's just $42,000. The savings are they're enormous.
That is $58,000 saved. And look, that's way more than just a number on a budget sheet. That's money you can now reinvest into real innovation, into hiring new people, into building new features for your customers. This isn't just some tech improvement. It is a strategic business advantage.
Okay, so let's do a quick final recap of the key takeaways. Remember, storage classes, those are your equipment suppliers. Persistent volume claims, those are the player's request forms. And the whole system, dynamic provisioning, that's your automated, super efficient equipment manager. And the bottom line, you save time, you save money, and man, you avoid so many headaches.
And that really just brings us to the final question, the one for you to think about. Is your storage playbook ready for the championship? Are you still out there guessing shoe sizes before the season even starts? Or are you letting your applications request exactly what they need at the exact moment they need it? Because at the end of the day, this playbook isn't just about basketball, it's about how you build winning applications.